The struggle to access clean water and basic sanitation is intensifying as the global population ratchets up by the billion. Overcrowded makeshift settlements are springing up along the world's lakes and seas at a staggering pace, putting the health of millions of people under threat. We take you to Africa's Lake Victoria, where one community is turning the tide on this alarming trend.
It looks tranquil, picturesque. But here, along the banks of Africa's Lake Victoria, looks can be deceiving. Some 30 million people crowd the lakeshores, dependent on its vital water source, and hoping to prosper from its booming fish trade. But this vast resource is in trouble. It's become a dumping ground for human waste and other pollutants, threatening many of those living in the poorest communities here in Kampala in Uganda. People like Helen Oyella, a mother of 9. 6 of Helen's children were stricken with cholera, a disease caused by consuming contaminated water or food. But Helen was a widow and too poor to pay for their medical care.
Sometimes treatment could cost up to 40,000 shillings. Where can we get such amount of money?
She could only sit helplessly as her children suffered.
I had no choice but to watch my children die.
And she's not alone. Every 20 seconds, experts say, somewhere in the world, a child dies of a water-related disease. Most common among them, cholera, typhoid and diarrhea, which is the second leading cause of death among children under 5 years old.
So what do you use the water for?
Chris Kanyasegwe with Uganda's National Water and Sewerage Corporation says contaminated water taken from the lake and flowing through these pipes, the area's only source of free water, is largely to blame for the spread of these diseases.
You really feel defeated. You can't do much in the short term.
Compounding the problem, he says, is lack of sanitation, made worse by rapid urban growth. In the last decade alone, Kampala's population has more than doubled, and overcrowded informal settlements have sprung up along Lake Victoria. Farmers, day labourers, drawn here in search of jobs. While others, like Helen, arrived in record numbers after escaping decades of conflict in northern Uganda. She lives in Namuwongo, one of the lakeshore settlements, where there are 20 public toilets for 10,000 people. Late at night, Helen's neighbour tends to an overflowing pit latrine a few steps from his home. His only option is to empty its contents directly into the streets. By the next day, children eat and play in the very spot where the latrine was emptied.
This could be one of the factors for high disease impact in this area.
What's more, the pit is only 20 meters from the water channel that flows directly into Lake Victoria.
So that brings a problem with the water quality, especially when you have pit latrines on top of the hills, and then people are collecting water downstream.
Abubakar Wandera is Uganda's national coordinator with the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP.
It's the reality, and we need to make some action. We need to do something. The community is doing that out of frustration, out of their lack of options.
To monitor the impact of waste on the lake's water quality, Chris and his team take water samples 6 days a week. Green algae and black sludge are clear signs of pollution, and water samples show just how bad it is.
The pH is 9.23. The total dissolved solids, 258.
Samples show levels of human waste in the lake are actually higher than water levels. And what's happening here is not unusual, experts say. Worldwide, a staggering 90% of wastewater in developing countries is discharged untreated, polluting the world's rivers, lakes and seas. But efforts are underway in Uganda to reverse conditions. Many in smaller lakeshore communities, with support from UNDP, are turning human waste into fertilizer and making a profit.
Composting manure, composting it and selling it, it has value.
Ecological toilets, which help turn human waste into compost, are also being used. Something this woman, Florence Ekello, a widow with 6 children, hopes may save the lives of her children.
Since we got those new latrines, they haven't been sick, not even diarrhea.
It's a step that could spare Florence's children the same fate as Helen's, a universal hope that all mothers share, and one that Helen can now only hold on to for her 3 remaining children.